All right, guys, the playoffs have arrived. We now know who the Jazz are playing. It's Jazz Grizzlies. Let's talk about it. This is the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, a lot of people asked me to do this, and I wanted to get this out. I've been waiting a little bit for a new logo and a new logo intro that's coming. That's taking more time than I thought. Who knew that animation took more than like a couple days? I guess to animate something pretty cool, it takes a little while. But anyways, that will be coming soon. I'm excited to show it to you guys. But we got that cool new thumbnail on there. So I hope you're excited about it. I am. Let me know what you think. Is the thumbnail cool? Is it not? I don't know. I think it's pretty good. And it better be good because I paid a little bit of money for it. So it better be good. But let's talk about the Jazz and the Grizzlies. This is the matchup I think that Jazz fans probably would have liked. The only other one they probably would have liked more is the Spurs. But the Grizzlies, you know, everyone's worried about the Steph Curry and Draymond Green matchup. And honestly, I wasn't that worried about it. And I'm not that worried about the Grizzlies either. I think the Jazz win this pretty easily if they play well. So there's a lot of factors. Let's talk about what needs to happen for the Jazz on the Jazz side and what to be scared of with the Grizzlies. For the Utah Jazz, really a lot of this boils down to how healthy is Donovan Mitchell. I think for the Jazz, if you have healthy Donovan Mitchell playing well, this is a sweep. This is not even close. But Donovan Mitchell had a bad ankle sprain, and I think a few days ago, I can't remember who tweeted it or who mentioned it, but that Donovan Mitchell mentioned something about his ankle being worse than people thought, and that makes me scared. I'm living in fear. Are you living in fear? Not just about basketball, but in the world in general? Yes, but also about Donovan Mitchell mostly. And so that's something that makes me nervous. Can the Jazz overcome a Donovan Mitchell injury if he's not quite there? And I think they can, because you have Mike Conley coming back. It was nice that Mike Conley had 2 games under his belt with the team. He hit, I think in his last game, he was 3 for 3 from 3. And so Donovan Mitchell needs to come in and be the playmaker. And that's something we've talked about all season. He doesn't have to do it all. He doesn't have to just be have one of those series like he did against Denver where he's just going out of his mind scoring. He's got guys to pass to. Mike Conley was a not big-time three-point shooter this year. Bojan Bogdanovic, the last quarter of the season, really turned it on and has become a real weapon. And then Royce O'Neal, who actually in his last 15 to 20 games was shooting around upper 30s, like 38 to 40% from 3. So this Jazz team has the shooters that Donovan Mitchell has needed. Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson spot up threes. Those are guys that Donovan Mitchell can set up. He does not have to do it all. And that is actually the biggest upside and benefit for the Jazz having this #1 seed. Imagine if the Jazz fell to the 2 seed and have to figure things out with Donovan Mitchell against the Lakers, who, by the way, are dealing with their own injuries. But I would much rather have Donovan Mitchell get his legs back against the Grizzlies than against the Lakers. And so the Jazz have had kind of the perfect situation fall into their lap. They can play the Grizzlies, they can get Donovan Mitchell healthy, and get their chemistry back and still beat the Grizzlies. Because even without Donovan Mitchell, the Jazz are good enough to beat this Grizzlies team. With Donovan Mitchell, they should beat them pretty quickly. Now, there's a few things about the Grizzlies that I think are a little different than when the Jazz played them before. The Jazz beat them like 3 times in a row during the season. If you remember, it was like 3 of 4 games the Jazz played the Grizzlies. They won all 3 games. That's not easy to do, and that tells you that the Jazz know kind of what to do against the Grizzlies. But the Grizzlies now have Jaren Jackson Jr. back, and he's played pretty decent. I haven't watched enough Grizzlies with him to really get an idea, but we did watch those playoff games, and he is a threat, and he can hit threes, and he's got size, and he can do a lot of things. And if he can get his game figured out, then they might be able to give the Jazz a little bit of trouble. I think, actually, honestly, this Grizzlies matchup is a nice matchup for the Jazz to prepare for other series. So if you can handle Valanciunas and Jaren Jackson, then maybe you can handle AD and Drummond. You know, AD's a whole other animal, but Valanciunas is no chump. That guy is strong and big, rebounds. He's got nice touch around the rim, and we've seen him go against Gobert and at least do some things, although Gobert, for the most part, neutralizes Valanciunas like he does everyone in the league because he's the best defensive player maybe that's ever lived. Maybe. Could be. Ja Morant is kind of the wild card. I mean, honestly, the reason the Grizzlies beat the Warriors is Ja Morant was hitting his threes, and he hit them at a high clip, and the Jazz are going to let him shoot. He's like a 30% three-point shooter during the season, but he showed up when he needed to for the Grizzlies against the Warriors. Can he do that a whole series against the Jazz? The Jazz will go under screens and will force him to shoot shots, because him getting in the lane, him hitting floaters is going to be something he's going to try to do. And if you can keep him from doing that, and if he can't hit threes, then this isn't a very hard series, and it's a very quick series. But if he can hit that three and force the Jazz to kind of play him honest, then we'll see what happens. Ja Morant is fantastic. Dillon Brooks is everyone. Grizzlies fans, if you're watching this, maybe you are, let me know in the comments what you think. I just don't know if there's a guy that irritates other players more than Dillon Brooks, but he hits shots, and he has a mid-range game that he can use against the Jazz, so the Jazz will have to watch out for that. And there's other guys on the two guys that hurt my feelings that should have been on the Jazz is Desmond Bane and Xavier Tillman. And Tillman hit a monster three in that game against the Warriors, and maybe he can be an X factor for the Grizzlies against the Jazz. And Desmond Bane, a rookie that the Jazz just decided not to draft, has been hitting mid-40s in the three-point from three for the Grizzlies all season. And can he do that in this series and be an X factor? Maybe. This Grizzlies team, I believe, is the youngest in like the last 10 years to get into the playoffs. So they are super young, but they're super talented. They could give the Jazz some trouble, and especially if the Jazz aren't completely healthy, and if that chemistry is not right, then don't be surprised if the Grizzlies kind of win a game or two. I think this is a series the Jazz should win relatively quickly, but you never know. Maybe the Grizzlies figure something out. We've seen it before. So, guys, that's my preview. That's all I've got to say. I think the Jazz win this in 5 games, and it's relatively quickly, and I actually like the idea of the Jazz going 5 games, maybe 6, because then you have Donovan Mitchell getting time to get healthy, get his legs back, get some chemistry with the team, so that in the next round, whether you're playing the Clippers or the Mavericks, you're more cohesive and ready to go. Anyways, guys, if you're new here, like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to be a part of the live stream chats, join the channel. The button's below. Guys, I'll talk to you next time.